It's Wednesday, January 12th, 2025. Doge expands its power, a potentially groundbreaking House committee, and JD Vance lays down the America First law in France. Next on the AM Update.
There's crazy things like we just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. I think they're probably dead.
I don't swear in public very well, but we have to Trump.
Among the blue hairs and the opinion writers in Washington, we're losing. We're winning with the American people.
The existential threat to President Trump is right here in this city. It's Letitia James.
Should a deal seem too good to be true, just remember the old adage that we learned in Silicon Valley. If you aren't paying for the product, you are the product.
Donald Trump has signed an executive order giving Elon Musk more power to downsize the federal government by requiring agencies to cooperate with his Department of Government Efficiency in slashing staff numbers and severely limiting any replacements. Musk told reporters in the Oval Office the people voted for major government reform, and that's what people are going to get. Musk also took questions from reporters, of course, driving them probably nuts. By the way, the White House didn't let the Associated Press into the Oval Office for this signing ceremony for the executive order that gives Doge more power. Why? Because the Associated Press refuses to refer to the Gulf of America as the Gulf of America. Nevertheless, it really pains the media to see Donald Trump and Elon Musk amidst their ongoing attacks trying to tear this duo apart. It drives them absolutely nuts. They smiled at each other, laughed at each other's jokes, this and that, including this commentary on just what the Department of Government Efficiency is finding when it comes to Social Security.
There's crazy things like we just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out. That's a case where, I think they're probably dead. It's my guess. Or they should be very famous.
Nevertheless, the entrenched judges and just rogue officials within the justice system, they are trying to put the kibosh on basically every level of Trump's agenda to shrink the size of government down to web pages. I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. But first, Representative Anna Paulina Luna of Florida yesterday made this announcement.
It is with profound honor that I have been entrusted by Speaker Mike Johnson and Chairman James Comer to lead the House Oversight Task Force on declassification of federal secrets. Together with the help of the White House, our intelligence allies, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, we will be conducting investigations into the following: the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and Dr. Martin Luther King, unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UAPs, unidentified submerged objects, also known as USOs, the Epstein client list, the origins of COVID-19, and the 9/11 files.
According to Fox News, James Comer and Anna Paulina Luna have already sent letters to the State Department, Department of Energy, and the CIA for documents relating to the origins of COVID-19, the National Security Agency and CIA for records relating to JFK, MLK, and RFK assassinations, the Department of Defense and the CIA for 9/11 files, and to the Justice Department for documents relating to Jeffrey Epstein. So, already making headway on a House committee that will be divulging, hopefully, secrets into those various, some mystery on some level on each of those cases. 9/11 files, Jeffrey Epstein files, JFK killing, Senator Robert F. Kennedy's killing, Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination, the origins of COVID-19, UFOs, all of those will be on the table. It follows Donald Trump's executive order back last month demanding the declassification of multiple stories that you just heard there, including the JFK and RFK assassinations. Well, as I said earlier, rogue judges are trying to do their best to put the kibosh on basically every level of Trump's plans via the Department of Government Efficiency to put a lid and a cap and a microscope to the entrenched bureaucracy. A federal judge on Tuesday ordered the Department of Health and Human Services, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the Food and Drug Administration to restore web pages, and data that had been scrubbed in compliance with Donald Trump's executive order on gender ideology. While litigation moves forward, U.S. District Judge John Bates, a literal creep, Okay, I'm just guessing he's a creep, agreed to grant a temporary restraining order sought by the group Doctors for America, which argued that its members used the websites when treating patients and conducting research. The nonprofit organization said that the removal of the web pages by the Department of Health and Human Services and its components violated federal law. Bates found that the challengers were likely to succeed in their claims that the Department of Health and Human Services, CDC, and FDA acted unlawfully when they stripped medical information from public-facing websites. Whatever. Have you ever heard of the Honorable, what's his name? I've already forgotten his name. The Honorable John Bates. Have you ever heard of this guy before? This little dipstick thinks that he can control the President of the United States. It is well past time, as Vice President JD Vance laid out over the weekend. Well past time for Donald Trump to tell these stupid judges to take a flying leap. You're welcome to enforce your little opinions if you want to. If Donald Trump starts down that road, bucking judges in the judicial system with these stupid universal injunctions. This particular one isn't a universal injunction, but those universal injunctions plagued the first Trump administration. If Donald Trump goes down the road consistently of saying to the courts, F you, if you don't like my hiring and firing decisions, well, then the people can fire me or can fire my legacy when I leave office. If Donald Trump goes down that road consistently, he will instantly become, and I'm not exaggerating here, he will instantly become the most consequential president of my lifetime, surpassing Barack Obama. It's time for him and his administration to do just that. Speaking of hiring and firing decisions, this week, Elon Musk in the Department of Government Efficiency made a bombshell allegation that just last week, FEMA sent a staggering $59 million to luxury hotels in New York City for the purposes of housing illegals. Musk wrote, quote, sending this money violated the law and is gross insubordination to the president's executive order. That money is meant for American disaster relief and instead is being spent on high-end hotels for illegals. Musk added that a clawback demand would be made to recoup the money. In response, FEMA acting director Cameron Hamilton assured Musk and the American public that the payments had been suspended and that the persons who authorized them would be, quote unquote, held accountable. Just 24 hours after those statements, DHS already axed 4 FEMA officials associated with those payments. So this story happened even before what I led off this episode with more power to the Department of Government Efficiency. 4 FEMA officials have been axed over their payment of $59 million to New York City to house illegal aliens in upscale hotels. This kind of stuff has got to stop for good, and that's exactly what they're trying to do with the Department of Government Efficiency. So aside from rogue judges trying to do their darndest, those little pissants trying to do their darndest to stop Donald Trump's statutory authority to hire and fire his own administration, down to the low-level staffer at the Department of Broomsticks. Despite that, what is the Democrats' vision and agenda right now? What is their vision? Well, let's ask Congresswoman Maxine Dexter what that is. She gathered with a bunch of other seething and foaming at the mouth Democrats in front of the Capitol yesterday.
I've been told I have 30 seconds, so I am going to tell you that we do have to. I don't swear in public very well, but we have to Trump. Please don't tell my children that I just did that.
So that is the vision of the Democrat Party.
Trump.
I'd rather not. Thank you very much. Is this all that they have? That's the topic of my poll of the week over at Real AM Update on X. I asked you, what exactly is the vision of the Democrat Party? I gave you 4 options. I honestly don't know. I'm kind of there right now. The second option is seething. Third option, prevent defense. And fourth option is something else. Go vote there. I've already heard from a lot of you what you think the Democrats' vision is. What is the vision of the Democrat Party? Go vote in the poll of the week at Real AM Update on X. When we come back, some good news for Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. Senator John Kennedy knows how to turn a phrase, really not act upon it, but he does speak the truth every now and then. Total victory for Ron DeSantis in Florida. And Steve Bannon says the real threat to the Trump administration doesn't lie in Washington, D.C. More in a moment. A couple of quick items of good news now. Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska announced this week that she will vote to confirm Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence. Also, Susan Collins of Maine, senator from Maine, announced recently she's also supporting RFK Jr. for HHS Secretary. Of course, leave it to Senator Murkowski and Senator Collins to be a yes vote on two former Democrats. These are both Republican senators, by the way. Leave it to them to be yes votes, yes, absolute yes votes for two former Democrats who happen to be Trump's picks for two different departments, and no votes on people like Pete Hegseth. If that's not on brand for those two Republican senators, I don't know what is. Another Republican senator who knows how to turn a phrase, actually, is Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. He had these comments the other day, just kind of a big picture view on where the Trump administration is 3 weeks in.
I'm unapologetically with Trump and Musk. Now, among the blue hairs and the opinion writers in Washington, we're losing. We're winning with the American people. And I think, Bill and Dana, the big picture should not go unnoticed. Some people, mostly my Democratic colleagues, have chosen to support the bureaucracy and the spending porn over the American taxpayer. These are the same folks who chose to support illegal immigration over the rule of law, who chose to support teachers' unions over schools and kids, who chose to support criminals over crime victims, who chose to support transgender athletes over women's sports, frankly, who chose to support Hamas over Israel. Now, they think they're winning, and they may be in the bubble of Washington, but not among the taxpayers. When they tell me, well, we think we're winning, I tell them, sure, and be on the lookout for flying pigs.
Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, he's one of these senators. He knows how to turn a phrase really well. He's pretty funny, really doesn't vote the same way. But I think his analysis there is, at least on some level, absolutely true. The Trump administration, through the first 3 weeks, is losing with the people you want to lose to. Meaning he is making all the right enemies, and he's making all the right friends, meaning the vast majority of the American people. I think that's what he's up to right now. I think that analysis rings true. In Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis basically had a total victory this week. I told you about the fight between Florida's legislature, some rhinos, a lot of rhinos in the Florida legislature, and Ron DeSantis calling a special legislative session to beef up Florida's already pretty good immigration laws, or anti-immigration, illegal immigration laws, I should say. Florida legislative leaders, those rhinos, they wanted to devolve the authority for immigration enforcement from the governor to the Secretary of Agriculture, and just a lot of other weak-kneed measures at all that fly in the face of Donald Trump's mandate from the American public to get rid of and clean up illegal immigration. Here is the Florida governor discussing the deal that he struck.
I'm happy to see the Florida legislature returning to special session to consider a series of proposals that, if enacted, will make Florida the strongest state in the country for combating illegal immigration and for assisting the Trump administration in fulfilling the mandate that it has to end the illegal immigration crisis once and for all. There are a number of very strong measures that are going to be considered, including making it a crime to enter the state of Florida illegally. Some other states have done it. It's our turn to follow suit. Number 2, ending catch and release for criminal illegal aliens. 3, requiring all state and local law enforcement to assist federal authorities with immigration enforcement, and they even provide penalties for mayors and police and sheriffs who do not do that, including fines, but also suspension and removal from office. They also take away in-state tuition for illegal aliens, something that should never have been enacted to begin with. And they also make it a heightened crime to register to vote as an illegal alien. All constitutional power resides with the governor as intended under our Constitution. I know there was a lot of concern about subcontracting out immigration enforcement to the Commissioner of Agriculture. That is not in the series of proposals. So all in all, I think this is really, really strong. I commend the legislature for stepping up to the plate. If they're able to pass the proposals as presented now, they can expect my strong support. Now is the time for us to get this done. We've been talking about this issue for years and years and years. Now we have a mandate. We got to deliver on that mandate. And the state of Florida is doing all it can to be great partners with the federal government in this very important national initiative.
The Federal Bureau of Investigation apparently thinks that you're a bunch of stupid yokels. They tripped over themselves and just discovered about 2,400 records tied to President Kennedy's assassination that were never provided to a board tasked with reviewing and disclosing the documents. This is a story according to Axios. The still secret records are contained in 14,000 pages of documents the FBI found in a review triggered by Donald Trump's executive order demanding the release of all JFK assassination records. The discovery, 61 years after Kennedy was killed in Dallas, follows decades of government reluctance to release all documents related to the assassination, which fueled a mountain, of course, of theories about what actually happened. The existence of the new documents was disclosed late last week to the White House when the Office of the Director of National Intelligence submitted its plan to disclose the assassination records under Trump's order. So let me get this straight. For 61 years, our Federal Bureau of Investigation, who was somehow able to commandeer, to round up in every nook and cranny all over this country, from Alaska to Florida, every nook and cranny, find thousands of J6ers. They're able to do that. Our FBI was. But for 61 years, they had no idea. Oh, we were just sitting on 2,400 records. 14,000 pages of documents. We'd never known these existed before, related to only the most pressing conspiracy theory of the last generation and a half. Oh, we had no idea. Yeah. Had no idea they were here. It just so happens, a week after Donald Trump signed an executive order demanding the release of all these JFK assassination records, we just happened to stumble upon these 2,400 documents. Can you believe it? They just think that we're stupid. They think we were born yesterday. It's truly incredible. It's not surprising when you see stuff like this. It is still stunning just how arrogant our federal government has become. And now here's this. JD Vance spoke at an AI summit in Paris, France over the last 24 hours, and he had some interesting things to say about artificial intelligence and America's role in leading the advancement of AI, this new cutting-edge technology. I want you to listen to a couple of clips here. JD Vance is addressing a room full of specifically Western, but really world leaders. And he's talking about artificial intelligence, something that sounds rather dry. How can you tie this into America first? But I want you to listen very carefully to how he addresses the room. Here's clip number 1.
AI, we believe, is going to make us more productive, more prosperous, and more free. The United States of America is the leader in AI, and our administration plans to keep it that way. The U.S. possesses all components across the full AI stack, including advanced semiconductor design, frontier algorithms, and, of course, transformational applications. Now, the computing power this stack requires is integral to advancing AI technology. And to safeguard America's advantage, the Trump administration will ensure that the most powerful AI systems are built in the U.S. with American-designed and manufactured chips. Now, just because we're the leader doesn't mean we want to or need to go it alone, of course. And let me be emphatic about this point. America wants to partner with all of you. And we want to embark on the AI revolution before us with a spirit of openness and collaboration. But to create that kind of trust, we need international regulatory regimes that fosters the creation of AI technology rather than strangles it. And we need our European friends in particular to look to this new frontier with optimism rather than trepidation.
So that's clip number 1. Here's clip number 2.
We've also watched as hostile foreign adversaries have weaponized AI software to rewrite history, surveil users, and censor speech. This is hardly new, of course. As they do with other tech, some authoritarian regimes have stolen and used AI to strengthen their military, intelligence, and surveillance capabilities, capture foreign data, and create propaganda to undermine other nations' national security. I want to be clear. This administration will block such efforts, full stop. We will safeguard American AI and chip technologies from theft and misuse, work with our allies and partners to strengthen and extend these protections, and close pathways to adversaries attaining AI capabilities that threaten all of our people. And I would also remind our international friends here today that partnering with such regimes, it never pays off in the long term. From CCTV to 5G equipment, we're all familiar with cheap tech in the marketplace that's been heavily subsidized and exported by authoritarian regimes. But as I know, and I think some of us in this room have learned from experience, partnering with them means chaining your nation to an authoritarian master that seeks to infiltrate, dig in, and seize your information infrastructure. Should a deal seem too good to be true, just remember the old adage that we learned in Silicon Valley: if you aren't paying for the product, you are the product.
This is one of those scenarios where I wish there were a video element on the AM update. Nevertheless, what I want to highlight here, you don't need video for. Reading the body language, I mean, there were yes, it was a European forum, but there were world leaders in that room, jam-packed, filled to the gill. Okay? And every single one of them, when you had a close-up on them, they looked annoyed to uncomfortable. Okay? So that's one thing, just to set the picture for you. Here's the main thing that stood out to me. Just 2 short little clips, about a minute and a half each. JD Vance, filled in a room filled with heads of state. He is the vice president. He is not the head of state for the United States. In this room, JD Vance does not address that room as if they are peers. He's being respectful, but he is in many ways talking down to them. And that's what America First is. Not that we're disrespectful, but we know we're the ones who carry the big stick. We are the ones who make the rules. And that is still true. Even in America's diminished state, it is a testament to the founding of this country, the founders of this country, that they devised a system that we could really screw it up for a period of many years and still be the world leaders in basically every area. And that is how he is addressing these European and sundry world leaders. You're not really the leader here. We're not even peers. The United States is. It's just very matter of fact. America first, as it pertains to foreign policy, as it pertains to really every level of policy. We'll see how permanent it can be. But America first, as far as the Trump administration goes in the first 3 weeks, is back. When we come back for a final segment, Steve Bannon says the real threat to Donald Trump doesn't lie where you might think it would. It's coming up next. Steve Bannon, a longtime ally of President Donald Trump, pleaded guilty on Tuesday to a charge he defrauded donors who gave money to a private campaign to build a wall along the U.S. southern border. Bannon pleaded guilty to one scheme to defraud count and was sentenced to 3 years conditional discharge. He's going to avoid jail time as part of the plea agreement as long as he stays out of trouble. Bannon's lawyer told reporters outside the court there was no way his client could get a fair trial. Bannon himself spoke to reporters and had this to say.
See this headline right here? Trump causes constitutional crisis. Trump causes constitutional crisis. Showdown emerges of the limits of his power. Let me be blunt. And this is a lesson here. The existential threat to President Trump's administration is not in federal court. What President Trump is doing is constitutional. The appellate courts will say that. The Supreme Court will say that. The existential threat to President Trump's administration, and I mean Doge, Elon Musk, Secretary of Treasury Bessent, Russ Vought, Stephen Miller, all of his people. The existential threat is right here in this city. It is the queen of lawfare. It's Letitia James. Right now, Soros has a DA that's running unopposed. He can call a grand jury at any time. He can set up criminal charges on the most bogus efforts. Letitia James runs this deal. She's got a pliant media right here, pliant left-wing media. She's got a jury pool of only left-wing radicals in the Upper West Side of this city. And she's got the judges. She's got all of it. And I'm calling on right now the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to begin an immediate criminal investigation into Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, all of it for what they did to President Trump. President Trump, on his Truth Social today, laid it out once again. The existential threat to his administration is this queen of lawfare, Letitia James, and how she has absolutely total control.
So you'll notice when I set up that clip from Steve Bannon, I did not specify which court Steve Bannon pleaded guilty in. You're probably thinking a federal court somewhere, right? Nope. It's the same freaking Manhattan court that has plagued Donald Trump for years now. So do I think that Steve Bannon is exaggerating, being bombastic there, overstating that the 666th Precinct Court in Manhattan is the existential threat to the Trump administration? I really don't think so. And finally, air analysis. I don't really have super strong opinions about the dude. He's done some wonderful work when it comes to COVID, particularly the COVID jabs. He's been a bulldog on behalf of Donald Trump, really since Donald Trump, the political phenomenon's inception. So he's been a staunch ally of Donald Trump, even worked in the first Trump White House for a while. So I don't really have strong feelings about Steve Bannon. Yes, he and some of his acolytes engaged in some, what I would describe as kind of, it's a primary season with Donald Trump, basically. Said some things that you really can't take back about other people who you would probably hope to want to have in your coalition, or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know his mind. So other than bad apples from primary, but it's a primary, so you kind of got to take your lumps if you get your feelings hurt, which the side of that primary I was on didn't get my feelings hurt, got my ego bruised a little bit. Having said all of that, I have no idea. Maybe Steve Bannon engaged in some sort of fraud with this, $25 million Build the Wall fund. Maybe he did. You know who I'm going to have to defer to on this? I'm going to need somebody to tell me or confirm that to me other than frickin' Letitia James and some Star Chamber jury from the 666th Precinct in Manhattan. This is what the Democrats have done with their specious, at best, lawfare against Donald Trump. If there's anybody remotely associated with Donald Trump who is accused of a crime in a deep blue area or really anywhere, that's you're like, I've never heard of that guy before. And all of a sudden, it's front page news on various mainstream news outlets. Thus and such ally of Donald Trump pleads guilty to thus and such crime. Convicted of thus and such crime. Charged with thus and such crime. You know what my immediate reaction is? Regardless of whether I've heard of them or not, have an opinion of them or not, my immediate reaction is, yeah, that's BS. Yeah, it's probably BS. And it's people like Letitia James who have completely degraded and made the judicial system, at least at the local level there, an absolute joke. And we continue to see the justice system be a complete joke. Starting off with the story at the beginning of this episode today. Some pissant judge somewhere from under a pus-infected rock comes out and says, hey, Donald Trump, most powerful man in the world, allegedly, you have to put this one webpage back up. Thus saith me. It's a joke. It's a joke. And these people should be treated like a joke. So I don't know. Maybe Steve Bannon did commit some sort of fraud. You know who I'm not going to trust to tell me that? The very people claiming he committed fraud. That's going to do it for a Wednesday. Look for the poll of the week. Told you about that earlier at the top of my X profile at Real AM Update. See you again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntire, and this is the AM Update.